So I'm Hannah Riley Bowles. I am the chair of the Management, Leadership, and Decision Sciences area. Some of you may have also met me at the Women in Public Policy Program Open House. I also co-direct WAP with Iris Bonet. So welcome back if we met each other then, and welcome anew if we're meeting each other for the first time. And I would like to first say thanks to Matt and to Oliver, one, for all the hard work that they've done recruiting you all, and to be Kennedy School students. It is truly an just enormous joy and meaningful meaning-making part of our work to work with the students. I mean, the students are the heart of the Kennedy School. I'm actually an MPP from approximately 100 years ago. And I still, to this day, remember very vividly my first days in the program and the excitement I felt at meeting so many diverse people who were similarly impassioned about contributing back to the world, and whether that was to the environment, to questions of conflict, to questions of social justice, the economics, technical issues. I mean, everybody was interested in different things, but there was just a huge amount of heart and passion and good work and quick wits and deep thinking in the community, and we see that every year. So we are just, it is truly, our honor to have you all with us. So what we'd like to do, I'm going to introduce Greg Dorchak in a moment, and what Greg and I want to do is talk about opportunities for leadership development within the Management, Leadership, and Decision Sciences area and associated programming. Greg Dorchak is I like to say partner in crime, although I don't know, we don't actually commit a lot of crime, but we have gotten a lot of really good stuff done together. We work very closely. Greg works closely with both the faculty in the Management, Leadership, and Decision Sciences area, and he's really also our primary direct contact with the students who are most actively engaged in the MLD area, those most of whom are candidates for our certificate in Management, Leadership, and Decision Sciences, which we'll talk about in a moment. Greg has also been with the school for a very long time, so he's also a terrific resource more broadly for questions about the Kennedy School, as well as related to MLD. So Greg, did you want to say anything else to open before we get started?
Well, thank you, Hannah, and welcome to everyone out there watching. Yes, I've been at the Kennedy School since almost when Hannah was a student there, which again, we won't specify exactly, but 100 years ago. And so it's just really a wonderful school, a great place with so much going on, and particularly within our area, there's a chance to interact with some fabulous faculty, and the project and the coursework are just really exciting, and we'll tell you a little bit more shortly. But again, welcome, and thank you for being here.
So let me give you a quick overview. In the Management, Leadership, and Decision Sciences area, I'm going to call it MLD from here forward, we have courses in leadership, negotiation and decision sciences, social innovation and change, and strategic management. And at this website, which Greg, can you throw it in the chat box also for
yes, I will.
You can go to our website, hks.mldarea.com, for a little more detailed information, some profiles of faculty, some examples of student work, and also more information on the MLD certificate. And here are some images of our faculty and students. Oop, there was our Zoom poll. We've already done that part. So let me talk for a minute about the MLD certificate. So we created the MLD certificate in order to encourage students to be mindful about how their MLD coursework can assist in their future public service endeavors and to enhance their leadership potential. So we have a lot of programs or classes and programs and classes in our area that are super popular. And one concern that I had is that everybody was just thinking they had to take a particular class because everybody else was taking it. And part of the point of the MLD certificate was to give people an opportunity at the beginning of their year. If you're in the mid-career program, you'll be here for 1 year. So they would be at the beginning of the year when you arrive. Or as an MPP student, you might make yourself a candidate sometime during your first year or by the beginning of your second year. And it's an opportunity, it's just a quick form, but we ask you to reflect on what are your goals, and then given your goals, what is the training that you would like to pursue in order to further those goals. And then, so as I emphasize here, we want you to think about your aspirations and then map backward. The other thing that it helps, and this was particularly important for the mid-career students because they're in and out in 1 year, which is really fast, is that they also have an opportunity starting right from the beginning of the year to think about how do they explain what they were doing during this year at the Kennedy School. So I remember I had a professor many years ago who said to me, don't think about your graduate studies as a pause in your professional life. It is part of it. This is part of your career development. And so what we want you to think about is how are you investing this time as part of your career journey? Now, what does it take to get the MLD certificate? The requirements are for the MLD certificate are one, as I just mentioned, you activate your candidacy in the fall semester, by the fall semester of the year you're going to graduate. And then what you need to do is complete 12 credits. So there's 4 credits in a full semester course. So you need to complete 12 credits. And we do it in terms of credits because there are a lot of really wonderful modules that are offered. And you may want to, take advantage of those modules. 2 modules equal 1 course. And you have to, they have to be MLD related courses with a grade of a B+ or above. So you have to have, put yourself into the course. We're not asking you to, sharp elbow compete for the number A slot, but you have to have been, a dedicated and engaged student in the course. And then you submit your final application by May 1 of the graduating year to show that you've done this many credits. On this website, you can go see the list of eligible courses. They are courses that begin with an MLD. Some of the courses are, though, courses, for instance, in international and governmental affairs, but they are relevant to management, leadership, and decision sciences. So we include them among those courses that you give credit. You can get 4 of those 12 credits can be attained at another school. So you might go to the Harvard Business School or the Sloan School or the Graduate School of Design or the Ed School or the Fletcher School over at Tufts of Law and Diplomacy or the Harvard Law School. And if you take a course that is relevant to MLD, we will approve those courses. And in fact, actually on the website, you can see examples of the types of courses that we have approved. To be honest, for the mid-careers, this requirement of 3 full courses is not a constraint. I mean, there are so many mid-career students, and I'll show you what proportions of the graduating class end up earning the MLD certificate. Most mid-career students end up taking MLD-related courses because a mid-career degree is very often about taking that next step into leadership. Similarly, a lot of the MPP students come to the Kennedy School with substantial work experience, and so they will be departing the Kennedy School, entering, meaningful leadership roles, and want to dedicate some of their electives to their leadership development. So, as I just mentioned, we have, over basically 2/3 of the mid-career MPAs end up becoming recipients of the certificate. We have a lot of mid-careers, but also, you know, 45% of the, or actually a little bit more than that, some, you know, just under half of the MPPs also end up making this type of investment in management, leadership, decision sciences courses. Beyond helping you think about how your coursework in MLD would further your career goals, we also wanted to create the certificate in order to acknowledge meaningful investment in your leadership, management and leadership development. And so there were particularly the mid-careers, but again, a lot of MPPs, and then some MPAs, 2s, and MPA IDs, but mostly the mid-careers, as reflected in the folks who are showing up here, mostly the mid-careers and the MPPs, were really investing, some of them were really investing in MLD training. And so we wanted to acknowledge that substantial work and have that, help that be part of their narrative when they depart the Kennedy School and head onto the job market. So before we open things up, and I'd like this to be primarily driven by what's on you guys' minds, what are the questions that you have, I would like to talk about the diverse teaching methods within the MLD area. I think that one of the reasons why the courses in MLD are so popular with Kennedy School students is because they're very relevant to their career development. But another reason is that the MLD courses are kind of famous for the interactive teaching methods that they use. There are obviously great courses with interactive methods in other areas, but I think we have the greatest kind of richness and density of these interactive teaching methods at the school. And so I wanted to walk through some examples of these. So one of these is the famous Harvard case method, right? So this is where you'll typically get a set of written materials describing some case protagonist who's facing a problem, and you're expected to read the background on the case and come to class. Typically, you'll be asked a number of questions like decision point questions or analytic questions, and you'll be expected to come to class, and the professor will be looking to you to say, what would you do? Or give me your analysis of this situation. How should this public leader be thinking about this problem? And we have some famously terrific case teachers within MLD. And in fact, the MLD area is also the area that's the kind of leading contributor to Harvard Kennedy School executive education. So you'll see that, you know, most of the executives who come for our programs for a week to 3 weeks are coming back looking for leadership development to think about their how to be more effective in their leadership roles or about how to get into that next leadership role. And so we have a lot of faculty who move between executive education and degree programs. A second very popular style of teaching is interactive exercises. So these are negotiation simulations. There are other types of team building or you know, decision-making exercises where you get in with your peers and try to solve problems together. The Kennedy School is such a wonderful place to do these types of exercises because our student body is so diverse. So we are the most international school at Harvard University, and you will just meet extraordinary people. And these classes, when you get into the elective course curriculum, you have students from all of the programs that were listed on that poll. So it's a really exciting opportunity to literally have an international negotiation or to negotiate with people who have, you know, very different professional backgrounds or perspectives from you on problems. Another area that where you'll see a number of MLD classes use is they have client assignments. So for instance, we had a course taught by a woman named Kim Leary this year, and she was teaching a course on teams. And so what she did was she created teams in the class, and then the teams were assigned to real clients, and then they worked for the length of the course with that client organization on some team-related challenge. Mark Fagan is another faculty member who teaches operations, and similarly, he will get students involved. In fact, I think you've got Mount Auburn Hospital here is on the slide. One of the things that Mark did is when the COVID crisis arose, he just turned on a dime and he called out Mount Auburn Hospital and asked them what were some of the operations challenges they were facing in light of the current crisis. And the students in his class all turned and were working on projects to support this local hospital. Now, distinct to some extent from having a client as having an assignment built around producing something for a client, there are also courses that are what we call field courses. And that is you're actually spending a lot of time at the client, arguably, the bulk of your time. There'll be a certain amount of coursework that'll be done on campus, but then you'll also have to schedule time to be out in the field with the client. So up top here, you see the top photo here is Linda Bilmes, who's really truly famous for doing this. She started out doing all these programs with mayors where she had Kennedy School students working on real problems related to budgeting and operations for mayors in Massachusetts, but then now literally all over the country and around the world, where she's got teams working on real problems for these mayors. She's also had people working with members of the US federal government. She's very actively involved in the UN. So she's just her course is famous. Yorit Young also has, he heads the Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership Initiative. And when I get to my last slides, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of contact places for you guys, so you can take a photo of that slide. And if you wanna look at some of these extra curricular programming, but he heads up the Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership Initiative, where he's got mayors from all over the world coming to Harvard for leadership development. And he's got a lot of opportunities for students to engage with real problems with those mayors. So down the bottom here is example, Team Lawrence. These are students from his class presenting, and they had the mayors in the classroom at Harvard listen to the students' presentations. If you can see the mapping example, they did this fascinating geo-mapping problem where they were looking at, basic, what's the word, Greg, for the housing at risk?
Yeah, the distressed properties.
Distressed properties, right. So they did this whole study of distressed properties and what are the implications of catching distressed properties early, not only for crime, but for poverty, for other types of potential prevention of violent crime and drugs. Really cool stuff where they're helping local governments build capacity. Okay, so another type of pedagogy for which our faculty are famous is what I'm going to call peer learning. And in peer learning, I'm also including coaching by students who may take a course and then develop a deeper relationship with the faculty member and end up becoming kind of peer coaches for other students who then later take a course. So there are a lot of courses, our leadership courses in particular, will give you an opportunity, and our fellowship program. So the bottom cheering photo here is actually from one of our fellows programs. So through the fellows programs and through a lot of the leadership courses, there are opportunities to get in groups of small groups of students, and you mentor each other. So it's kind of a scaffolded process where you share some sort of challenge or opportunity or project that you're working on, and then you work together, usually facilitated by the faculty member or one of these teaching fellows. Now, the exciting thing also about the teaching fellow roles in this is that the teaching fellow role becomes a leadership development opportunity also. So Marshall Gans, for instance, is one of our faculty. He's very famous for his work on organizing. He's just done an enormous amount of work literally all over the world, advising folks from social movements and political organizations, environmental organizations about organizing. And what he will do with his teaching fellows is that they will help kind of peer mentor students at the school, but then he also gets the students kind of hooked up with these other organizations to build their capacity for organizing. So anyways, there's a ton of opportunity to learn from one another. And as I mentioned again, the students are so amazing. I mean, they're so diverse and they're just like want to save the world in so many different ways. And so this is just a really exciting part of our learning. And then finally, I want to highlight that we have courses where students are able to incubate projects. So we have a number of students who arrive on campus who have ideas for a social venture, or they have ideas for a kind of literally like a social movement, you know, some sort of organizing project. And so there is space at SICE, which is our program for social, it's called the Social Innovation and Change Initiative. This is Julie Badalana here, who's the faculty who heads that program. She's got this brilliant article and approach on, are you an agitator, innovator, or orchestrator? And students kind of think about what their strategy to change the world is. And then she works with them to think about, them placing themselves on the appropriate platform in order to make the social change that they want to make. And we've, regularly have students who win awards for social innovations, or who kind of go off to create or lead important ventures. I mean, another example is one of the women who came out of this program is part of the leadership looking around, social and political organizing for domestic workers. And so she's like the political organization for a national association. So it's not necessarily always that you're starting a new thing. It can be that you become an important agent for change within an existing institution. So as promised, maybe you want to take a screenshot of this slide. These are at the top, again, is our contact information. Greg is our primary student liaison, but I'm always open and delighted to talk with students. You can follow us on Twitter. But here are a number of different websites that you can check out for relevant extracurricular programming. So maybe I'll leave that up for a little while and let's move to questions.